Voyage.
Hi, everyone. It's Nat Mundel, the founder of Voyage and one of the producers of So Many Fragile Things, this incredible episode. And I'm pleased to introduce Michael Emerson, two-time Emmy Award-winning actor, star of some of your favorite hit movies and shows like Lost, Person of Interest, The Practice, Saw, and the current hit show Evil on Paramount Plus. So, Michael, very excited and honored to have you in this episode, and also really nice to connect with you.
Thank you, Nat. It's nice to meet you today.
Cheers. So, what an interesting story, first off, and I'm assuming for you an interesting role. Tell me a little bit about if you found anything surprising in this role for you of Samuel.
Well, it's a sad story. I connect to it in a way, having grown up in a small farm community in Iowa and living near Amish people, and I have a sense of the different kind of life they have to lead. I was surprised at the sadness of it, and that the character I play has no support. There's no one he can talk to. He's alone in the world, I would say, friendless. And he's in a place where he can't make good decisions, I think. I feel a kind of, I won't say sympathy for his situation, because I don't think murder is a good solution to anything, but I feel a kind of empathy for him in terms of his loneliness and his desperation, and the times when he feels like, am I crazy, or am I living in a crazy place?
Yeah, how fascinating to know your background and that you have that sort of personal experience. So when you find your performance in a role like this complex character in a complex situation, what's your process like, and how do you find your performance?
I think it's all, to me, it's just, it's a voice job. I look at the text and try to gather what the writer wants, or what's there. What does it contain beneath the surface, maybe, and how can it best be played for, I don't know, pathos or drama or humor, what have you. And then I run it, I try it out in my own voice. I look at whether in this case, it can use a nice dialect, and just try to make the music of it right. I guess for me, as I get older as an actor, I think of the spoken word as a kind of musical performance. So I'm just listening for the melody or the cadence, or I'm listening for the thing that sounds fresh and true.
Yeah, that makes sense. And your voice naturally, I think, has a melodic pacing to it. So it's actually really kind of nice to chat with you. It's almost hypnotic, even just for me. So I think that's an interesting aspect of some of the villains you've played, and you have played so many pure villains, but then over time reveal this nuance. And I think this character Samuel has a lot of nuance in his story. And so, what are your thoughts on his motivations? Do you find him, when you read this role, did you find his story to be truthful, do you think? Or what do you think some of his motivations were?
I think his story is really plausible. And of course, I know that it's true, or at least his telling of it seems true to him. He seems like a man who never got to speak. He never got to have his say. And now, after he's done this terrible thing, he's going to speak. And there's a whole lot of ways that can happen. I'm a little surprised at how self-pitying he is, how self-justifying he is. He's like undeveloped, I think. And maybe him growing up in an Amish community did not contribute to a broader worldview, or a way to get past himself, or a way to stop being infantilized by, the leaders of his church community. So all of that's going on, I think.
Yeah, and when you think about some of those themes, and if you connect it to present day, and if there were a Samuel in today's world, do you think he would be tried differently or thought of differently than he was then?
This is that kind of tragedy that makes headlines and causes discussion, and people will take a couple of different sides on it. I think in a way his crime is a kind of timeless one, and I think it plays kind of the same now as it would in his day. I think if there's any difference, it is that we're a little more forgiving because we understand mental illness a little better, and we understand how good people can grow desperate and make tragic mistakes.
Yeah, and then his tragic mistake obviously led to prison and then ultimately suicide prior to release. Do you think the size of his world and community, being smaller than now, do you think that the shame corresponds to the size of community, and that maybe in today's world he could have been a faceless participant in community after, and that might have driven his suicide?
He came from a very small circle, and that very small circle will shun him forever. Mm. And I guess he just didn't have enough experience of the world or of life to have enough imagination to envision for himself some other life that could contain happiness and be guilt-free. He couldn't get there. He hadn't the tools for it, I think.
Yeah, it's that undeveloped quality that you referred to earlier.
Yeah. He's simple in a way, childish, sort of. The thing he says about the Amish sort of crippling their people by not letting them know the world so that they're dysfunctional. I think he's describing himself when he says that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, switching over to you, is this your first podcast participation, or have you been both listening to and performing in podcasts for quite some time?
I listen to podcasts a lot. I really enjoy them. I enjoy the spoken word in general. I don't think I've played a part on a podcast. I've done, numerous interviews and stuff and talked about my work or shows that I've been on, but this is something new, I guess. And I like the whole idea of it. And I do like spoken word media.
What is it that you like about spoken word media? Is there a connection to power of voice, or what's true for you in that?
Well, I think the human voice is the ultimate instrument, and that the storytelling can be hypnotic and transforming, and it can be electrifying in a simple and direct way that is perhaps greater than all the special effects on the planet. So I'm really partial to that stuff. I like the idea of radio drama, and I like what has grown out of it in the digital age, that we have so much more spoken word to listen to. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm up for that, and I do believe in it.
Yeah, I think there's a much in the same way you're referring to it as the voice being the first instrument, and storytelling being oral in its origins. The simplicity of that, I think, gives some great power. And one of the things that we think is interesting about Voyage is this notion of creating a new fireplace around which people can share stories.
That seemed like a good idea to me, because I think the human voice can take you away to places, and it can be an incantation. It can be poetry. It can be sacramental, I would venture to say.
Wow.
So I'm all in favor of us doing more of this kind of work.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you're working on, and feel free to, if there's something you want to share with your fans, please take a moment. Tell us what you're up to.
Well, I think my fans know that the show I'm on now, Evil, is in its second season. It's now airing, new episode every week. And it's going really well. We wrapped on the work at the end of May, so I'm on my summer vacation. And I do a little bit to promote the show on social media because everybody's very keen on that. And some interviews and things. And mostly I'm out here in the woods, doing sort of farm-like chores every day.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to get connected with you, and so appreciative of your performance on So Many Fragile Things. Michael Emerson, everyone, just welcome to Voyage, and thanks so much for your wonderful performance. It's great to meet you.
Thanks for having me. I really look forward to hearing the finished product here.
This is Dan Benamor, head of podcasts at Voyage Media. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Michael Emerson. Just wanted to tell you to keep an eye out for the next episode of Allegedly, which stars Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek. It's coming in 2 weeks. It details a financial crime that has stakes in the trillions of dollars, and it's just, really unbelievable and a really great fit for Allegedly. We think you're going to really enjoy that episode, so keep an eye out for that in 2 weeks. Thanks.